teachers,
Hi, everyone.
therapists. I just woke up. It's 7:30 in the morning where I am,
Isn't
and
he a rock star, y'all? I mean,
I slept last night.
such commitment, truly.
Sleep is everything for me. I'm not a good sleeper, but I slept last night,
Me too.
and I'm
It's
having so
nice.
much fun with the summit. So, Lane Taylor Klaus, if you haven't seen, is one of our speakers for we're here with executivefunctionsummit.com. If you like what we're doing, go ahead and share the link. Even today, Monday, is the bonus day when you can access everyone. You can access Elaine's talk. Just go into the today's TIFOS summit and type in the word Elaine, and there you go. It's so easy. So anyhow, how are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. I am restored from a summer of really placations. A lot of placations this summer.
Well, I hope that the parents out there have had a similar experience, and we know that some have not and have been, really busy all summer, and then they're going right back at what do they say? Out of the pot and into the frying
Into
pan,
the
something like
fire.
that.
It's exhausting. Yeah.
So, I guess for parents, I guess whether or not they had a lot of restoration or not, as they're entering the school year, what are your biggest thoughts for people in terms of your experience, what you're hearing your clients and families and audience saying? What do people need?
You know, you might like to hear me say this, but you might not. But the number one thing that I think parents need at the beginning of the school year is to make sure that their own self-care doesn't disappear.
Mm, tell
That
me
that
about that.
parenting is about who you're being, not what you're doing, more than anything. And if you're feeling stretched and strained and stressed and anxious and worried and all of that stuff, your kids are going to feel it. And it's just going to amp up their stress and worry and strain. And so the more that you can do at this time of year to take care of your own emotional and mental health and physical health, actually, the better it is for your kids because they need you to be, operating from a grounded, comfortable, safe place, not from a triggered place. And the new year can trigger a lot of stuff.
So what I just mentioned is that I've been going nonstop and I slept last night and that's everything for me. And
Yeah.
um yeah, it's so true, like the self-care stuff. And I know myself well enough to know like after the summit's over I'll hit like a mild depression for like a week because
Yeah.
it happens
And
every
that's
year.
reasonable to
'Cause my
expect, right?
nervous system is in fight or flight right
Yeah.
now and or lately. And so, but I know what to do with that. But so often, and so many people have been talking about the nervous system
Hmm.
of our
Finally.
speakers. And
Yeah.
so, when you talk about self care and you think about um, I guess the thing that I want to ask about is modeling in two ways with self care.
Hmm.
Can you speak to what modeling is and modeling in terms of consciously modeling where like we're specifically saying to our kids, oh, I'm gonna make sure I get to bed at 10 o'clock tonight, blah blah, and it's like more conscious. And then the subconscious modeling where we're not even thinking about it, but what we're doing, even if we aren't even telling our child senses that our nervous system is more regulated, even if it's a
Yeah.
little bit, even if parents, if you've had chronic stress for 20 years and you're starting to apply little things and there's little differences in your nervous system, how our kids' nervous systems feel it, they notice it. Can you talk about those two, what modeling is in your sort of definition, and those two ways, sort of like ways
Yeah.
to more consciously do it and ways that we don't even have to think about it.
So, yeah, it's great, great frame. So, and a few things come up. First of all, I want to step back and say, Diane and I often say when you don't know where to focus, there are two options: lean into relationship and focus on self care. That's it. Like if you don't know what else to do, start there because both of those will yield. the kinds of connection that you need to be able to do all the other executive function work that you teach so much about, Seth. So, so when it comes to modeling, sometimes parents have a really hard time with self-care and they have a really hard time feeling like it's indulgent or, how can I focus on me when my kid needs so much help or whatever. So that's where the modeling comes in. Sometimes we do it because modeling it for them, Jamie Lee Curtis says the kids are like the paparazzi. They're going to watch everything you do and they're going to repeat it at the worst possible moment, right?
Hmm.
So if we know they're watching us all the time, even if we think they're not paying good attention, they are watching and they are absorbing.
Hmm.
And so part of it is modeling, as you say, verbally, is not in that I'm teaching you this, because none of them want us to teach them anything.
Or
So, but to
lecture or
indirectly
nag or
say, I'm feeling, I was kind of off my game today. I really need a good night's sleep tonight. I think that that's what's going on is I haven't been getting great sleep. Or I'm really going to commit to get a good night's sleep today because tomorrow's an important day for me. I've got some stuff going on. To avoid the tendency to say, see, it's really important for you to get good sleep, right? You don't have to draw the conclusion for them. They're going to get it, right? They're going to absorb it. So sometimes it's a very overt, verbal, kind of like it's important to make mistakes and to verbalize when you make mistakes because they hear it and that
that's
makes it
modeling.
okay to
Yep.
make mistakes. Similarly, you can model your intention, your plan for self-care, your whatever that is. And remember that sometimes leaning into relationships is self-care. Sometimes it's okay to say, I have got so much going on, and if I don't just have a nice family dinner with our family tonight, that's what I need to reset myself, everybody, right? Like it is okay to ask for connection, to want connection, to let them know you want to be in relationship with them. That can be self-care for you. That can be level setting for them. The term I like to use a lot is down regulating, right? And
Hmm.
this time of year, there's lots that's bringing us up, and so we want to just keep bringing the energy down. And when you feel desperate, they feel desperate. So we want to come from a place of inspiration, not desperation. And so that means we have to figure out what inspires me. And I don't know about you, but most of us, when our family's really grooving, when we're having a good conversation, when we're playing on the floor, when, whatever it is that we're enjoying, that tends to be inspirational for us. That's the kind of parenting we want to be doing. That's the kind of family dynamic we want. And so, is it getting all the stuff done and ticking the boxes? No. But sometimes we have to put relationship before task for the tasks to come out with less stress. What comes up?
And if you have a parent, so I have two questions. One is if you have a parent who says, that's great, but I don't have time for self care,
Yeah,
what's your go to response?
Well, like everybody has time to take a breath. We have time we create time for what's important. And I don't have time for self-care is really code for I don't see how it's important. It's not as important as everything else. Because if we were really choosing I'm not saying you have to take an hour and a half to go have a bubble bath every night or have a girls' night out or like self-care can happen in 30 seconds of just slowing down and taking some deep breaths or paying attention to the way the sun lands on the leaves. Right. Self-care can be really little and really small snippets of keeping yourself grounded and calm. It doesn't have
Uh-huh.
to, don't let the I don't even know who the gurus are out there that make us feel like self-care is some huge self-indulgent. I'm not talking about Canyon Ranch here, y'all. I'm talking about making sure that you are as kind and respectful to yourself and your body and your own nervous system as you are paying attention to everybody else's,
Hmm. Yeah, I
right?
think about it similarly. Like imagine we've been around, human beings have been around for I don't know what it is, 250,000 years or something. And imagine that, we we didn't have like Netflix and massages, and I mean, there may have been like massage with the families taking care of each other in that way, but you don't go to like a massage spa or
Right.
spas or manicures and stuff like self-care. It's so simple, but what you just said is it has to do with like taking care of our mental health, our physical health, our nervous systems. And my response with that sort of a response, as I don't have time for it, I literally don't have time, is you have to figure out how to make time. You have to, because we are modeling for our kids that the way to be an adult is to not take care of yourself. We are literally teaching our kids that if we don't create the time for it. And
So,
can I
so
finish
can,
one thing?
yeah,
Like yesterday, like I worked more or less from when I woke up to when I went to bed yesterday, and I will do that again today. I know that about me today.
yeah.
But yesterday morning, before I started work, I went for a walk. When I take breaks, a lot of times I'll take cleaning breaks because even if I can't leave the house, at least I'm moving my body. And last night I went and watched the meteor shower, and it was late and I was exhausted, but I laid out on the rooftop here for, I don't know, 20 minutes or so. And, but like I did, I have to do something. I had carry out that I love, like I did things that, again, at this point in my life, I do know what I need, but our kids, as they're still developing, often, well, in some ways, they know more about what they need than we give them credit for, or than they even know. But in some ways, they're completely unrealistic. But we need as the adult, model that. And when we don't, as you said, prioritize it, we are modeling that it's not a priority. And that scares me.
That's what I wanted to speak to. Is there are two things that came up as we've been talking. One is, so I have a 27-year-old young adult, okay, who is in medical school. And I'm watching this cohort of kids going through medical school together. Now, she's a quirky, queer, complicated young adult who's going to be an amazing doctor, right? Part of their work of going through med school is taking care of themselves consciously. I hear them in conversation about how they're going to get an exercise in, or making sure they get to sleep, or how are their meal planning for the week. Like, part of their success is not just burning it the candle all the time doing school, but I'm watching these young adults, many of whom are what I would call complex young adults. I'm watching them go to bed the night before an exam and put
Hmm.
themselves to bed the night before exam and prioritize it and talk about it. And so when we model that for them, we're actually modeling for them what it takes to be successful in life, even if we're trying to achieve and do whatever's expected of us. And, there's not much more high achieving than kids on the medical school track. It's some serious effort.
Hmm.
And they are, and the curriculum is encouraging them to build in ways to make sure to take care of themselves. So I want to really take a stand for it. Is one of the most important life skills we can teach kids who struggle with attention issues and executive function issues, is that taking care of yourself is part of the work of adulting that is expected of all of us. And if we want to teach them that part of it's not just about what grades you get, but it's making sure you go to sleep and eat your food and all of the other stuff, then we have to model it. The other thing I will say is, I remember being in a group. We run parent coaching groups, and one of for kids of different ages, parents of kids of different ages. And I was with a parents of teen group, and there was one mom who may actually be listening here today, who earlier in the summer, her homework assignment was to create an off-duty sign for herself, so that her kids would know, because this is teenagers, not little kids, right? Would know when she's on duty and when she's off duty, so that that off duty sign was assigned to everybody, that okay, now it's time for me to decompress and take care of me. And
Hmm.
that's communication to our kids that's really important, not just for them and for us, but for them long term. It's like, yes, there are times where we work, 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 and then there are times where we say, okay, I know there's more work to be done, and it's time for me to rest.
Turn it off. Hmm.
The a rest, if you talk to competitive athletes, a lot of us have been watching the Olympics. A rest day is a work day, right? It is a training day.
Yes. Oh, I like that. I like that.
Right? A rest day is a training day. If you listen to these Olympians talk, they will talk about, well, I'm taking today off because I'm competing tomorrow, or I'm like, it's a very conscious part of their vocabulary. You have to rest to be able to perform at your best.
Yeah, and the this hustle culture that's all around us is so toxic. And I think it's hard to sift through to figure out like and these kids are in schools again, they're taking 6 or 7 classes. That may sound fine. And for some kids that may be fine, but
That's
if
just
they're expected
crazy.
to then come home and do 2 to 3 to 4 hours of homework, especially if they have attentional and processing challenges, then it's just unreasonable.
It is
And
unreasonable.
then to have extracurriculars on top of that, like they're really learning this is what it means to be an adult in the world, and then they have chronic stress and anxiety and depression and mental health challenges and career challenges and relational challenges, and it's like all we want is our kids to be happy, healthy, and successful. That's what parents say. That's what we say. But what does that mean? That means good career, your nervous system's happy, your relationships are
But
good.
that also means playing to your strengths and knowing where your strengths are and knowing what's not, what might be good enough, right? Like sometimes what that means is I might have 6 or 7 classes, or a kid with all those classes, and we might have a conversation about which of those are your sweet spots where you know you're going to really kick it in that class, and which ones is it okay to get a, is our kids, I like to say, Seth, that our kids are specialists in a generalist's world. And so part of starting a school year is having some really cool conversations about what do you expect this year for yourself? What's important to you? What do you want, kid, whatever age? And let them be real with you about what's going to be hard and what's going to be easy. And let's make sure we're not spending all our time only focusing on what's hard,
Hmm.
but in that performance paradigm of, well, you might love English, but you really need to work on math. And maybe we set an expectation that, like, raise the bar a little bit. What if you work towards getting a C or a B, and not set that expectation that everybody's got to get straight A's in everything, but let them know that they have strengths and gifts and challenge areas, and that's okay. That's normal, right? Level set a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, and in a school environment or a family culture where it's like A's, 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 this is so important. Oh my gosh, you just gotta go back to the two things: mental health and relationships. What's the quality of the person's relationships and mental health, and that's the
That's
litmus test. And
that's it. It really is.
and,
And as
and with
somebody who
Shane,
grew up in the achievement elite, as I like to call it,
mhm, mhm.
where, I would come home with a 98, my dad would say, what happened to the other 2 points? Like
And
it,
his heart's in the right place.
it
He,
was
he he associates education with possibilities,
success in
and
life and all of that. But we have to allow, had somebody said to me, actually, clearly science isn't your thing, so let's set some different expectations instead of putting me in the advanced class in science because I was advanced in everything else, and then I was like really screwing it up because I really was in the wrong place, you know? So,
I gotta wrap. I gotta
okay.
be on a meeting in 9 minutes. Thank you.
Excellent. My pleasure. Can I just say something to your community who's listening?
Yeah, please, please.
Okay, I want to say to all of you listening, you rock. You're doing amazing stuff. You are an amazing parent, because if you weren't, you wouldn't be here. If you're here, there's no question that you're doing some great stuff, and you're probably not doing it perfectly, and that's totally okay. And give yourself the space as you start yet another school year, because it's exhausting, to pace yourself for the marathon of this, and take care of yourself in the process. It will have the best long-term results. You got it.
Thanks, Elaine. And Ellen Gobbler says thank you both. So thank you, Elaine, from Ellen,
Pleasure.
and thanks, Ellen, for commenting there. And be well, everybody. And Elaine, I'll hang out with you for a second as I wrap this up. And we are at executivefunctionsummit.com. If you haven't registered, today's the last day. Dive in, because all the speakers are available today until midnight Pacific tonight. And the early bird sale, or not the early bird, the sale ends 75% off at midnight tonight. So check out the VIP pass and share the summit. People even join us, even to tonight. People
Yeah,
just join us brand new and dive into
never
sessions.
too late.
So share it around if you would, and be well, everybody. Take care.